will probably check here.
Yeah, they really are shallow.
Yeah.
Because they
Because
went up fast.
Yeah, with the 30-minute clock, the blinds are rising fast now. So as expected, Stephen checks. 8-7 is not a hand you want to have to fold to a limp reshove. So we'll just take a flop, see what happens. He has flopped
Ooh.
well. And this is top pair against middle pair.
Yeah, both
This could be
players
tricky.
have something.
This could be expensive.
This could be showers, but I don't think it'll be showers. It really depends on what comes on the turn and whether Sergey bets here. He should be betting here once it's checked to him.
Yeah, he has a vulnerable second pair. Any card over a 4 obviously can beat him. So he's going to bet here for what we used to call protection, when we tend to call equity denial more these days, when he has the best hand. Stephen now has a choice between check raising and check calling. And let's see what he's gone for the check call. Yeah, this is not a particularly draw heavy board, so he's going to call, see what happens on the turn.
And the tower's back too. The turn is pretty innocent though, which may lead Sergey to believe that he is ahead when he is a fact behind. But I think this would go check in many circumstances. Oh, never mind. Now it is Stephen repping that he has a hand, which he does. Not that the 3 helped his hand, but let's see if Sergey can get away with this. I can't foresee him folding here, though. I mean,
he has a very strong hand. I mean, we obviously know he's now losing to a 3 as well. I think part of the reason why Stephen is betting here is because Sergey would check his 3s a lot more than his 4s, so it's unlikely the 3 improved him.
Then again, Sergey would be betting a lot of the time just because he was on the button.
Yeah, in position. This has put Sergey in a difficult position now. Stephen has recognized basically that he pretty much always has the best hand here. And Sergey would check this turn card a lot.
Wow.
Found a really good fold.
Wow.
Really good fold.
Such discipline there. Recognizing the fact that he was called with his bet. Stephen betting out. He may have been more afraid of the 3 than the 8, but
Stephen's not going to check call with nothing there. And that line, check call flop lead turn, it's a line which people generally don't choose to bluff with.
I'm so impressed that he came back. I wish I watched the last 20 minutes or so that I gave Mad some airtime.
Yeah, well, he basically won the all-ins. We've had a pattern of Stephen has tended to chip him down in the quiet periods, but then every time they get it all in, except the last time, which was a chop, Sergey wins the all-ins.
Was he ahead? Like the first time I know he wasn't with the Queen on.
He wasn't ahead the first
King.
time, but he's been ahead every other time.
Suddenly got this cough thingy, malarkey.
I hope the tower's not getting sick. He has more comms coming up.
And do you know what? I need 12 hours off.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, we haven't had 12 hours off all 7 days we've done it.
So we're going to see a flop. And
good flop for both players.
Yeah, Sergey is open-ended with his 4. And Stephen has middle pair. Very weak backdoor flush draw. As often happens in this case, it's gone check because they both have sort of mediocre hands. Stephen turns a bit of equity. He's not to know that his 2 high flush draw is good if it comes in.
Yeah, even though he has the equity, he probably can't really use that to his advantage.
No, and he has significant showdown with the 6. So Sergey may be thinking,
Sorry about that, folks. Some technical issues.
So Sergei decided to bet his open ender on the turn. Stevens called with his fairly weak showdown hand, which also has the flush draw. Now Sergei's hit top pair on the river. So he wasn't playing to hit his queen, but now he'll figure he has the best hand most of the time. So the question is, do we bet it or not?
It is a pretty wet board.
It is. So the significance of the wet board is there are a lot of missed draws that Stephen might decide to turn into a bluff if we check to him. So that's one consideration.
Oh, my throat.
Poor Tower. After 7 days together, Tower is suffering.
I think I might take tomorrow off.
This heads up might go until tomorrow, though, Tower.
That, by the way, is very true.
Sergei thinking. I mean, if he bets, he's still going to be called by some things that are less. I think he needs to bet here. He bet the turn. He should bet the river. It looks like he's reaching out for a bet. It's maybe thinking about what his sizing should be versus whether he should bet at all.
Yeah, he's trying to decide what type of hand Stephen has that can call a bet on the river now. So we have 17 million in the pot. As we discovered whilst Jason was away, I'm colorblind, so I have no idea how many chips that is.
I heard about that conversation from
Yeah.
those listening to the stream. I was aware of that, but I didn't know we would be talking about that on the stream.
So a quick fold from Stephen. He's only beating a bluff, and there are a lot of hands he was losing to there. So Stephen in the lead, but it's very close. 26 big blinds to 20. We're so shallow now, we can expect them to be getting it in at some point in the not too distant future.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Was it? Anticipation was 1.5 to 3 million big blind. That was the anticipation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The way the game's gone, the way it went to and fro. Yes, it could have been ended on the first all in, but that was not the case. Chipping away was Stephen Van Zadloff. It's been great to watch him for probably my first time ever on a live stream. I know he's a bit of a crusher, and the fanboy to my right hand side has had a lot of love for the guy all week, and for him to be heads up is like a little bit of a story as well, because Jason shouted him out like on day one. He picked out the names, and he was one of the names that he did say. So a big shout out to Jason for that. And when he got onto our feature table for the first time, he was like, "Oh, like that." It was so much fun. And for
Dara was in that group too, though.
for him to even be heads
Sick
up
rub down.
is just awesome.
Sorry, Dara.
Whereas
It's like a respect thing / like little needle. I don't know which way we go on that, but completely different styles at times, I would say. Dara and Steven, though. I wouldn't say completely different, but different.
yeah, we're probably not that different online, but live, perhaps. To be honest, I haven't played much with Stephen live, so he hasn't done too much. I would have done differently on this final table.
Yeah, I think final table you would play pretty much the same, but let's say on a day 2 would be a little bit different.
Possibly, yeah. He has
You're protecting your stack
he has
probably
a
more than he is.
higher variance style, yeah.
I joke with Dara that he's in his comfort zone when he has like between 10 and 16 big blinds.
Yeah, or even 4 and 6.
Yeah, 4 and 6. But once he gets up to 40, you're out of your comfort zone sometimes,
for
unless you're on
sure.
the final table.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we have the hand going on here. Sergei's hit a pair on the turn again. Not really strong enough to bet. Sorry, he did bet the turn, and he bet the turn as basically an advanced blocker to get the check on the river.
So stacks are even once again.
59 million, 58 million.
I was
Incredible game.
I was nervous when I gave Mad my seat although I gave Tower my seat and Tower gave Matt his seat, that we could be ended all there because it was 6 million that Sergey had. He just doubled up, but he was still shallow. And I am absolutely shocked that stacks are even. That is quite the comeback.
Yep.
Not quite chipping a chair, but pretty damn close.
So Stephen's on the button with 7-4 offsuit. Pretty terrible hand, but we don't want to be folding too many buttons. So he may elect to limp this.
Then again,
And again, we may also raise it.
it looks like a raise to 5 million.
Yeah, if he gets shoved on here, he's folding, obviously.
And Sergey will either defend or 3-bet almost 100% of the time.
Yeah, he should. Although we have been surprised by some of the decisions. I think he may have. Has he moved all in? Yeah, he moved all in. Yeah, that's actually really good from Sergey. He recognizes that the king is pretty powerful heads up. Stephen has been raising all sorts of junk in these spots.
It has to be a little bit. I mean, I know Steven is a pro and he's been in these spots and he looks very comfortable, but it's semi-demoralizing when you have your opponent really on that edge. He was down to 6 million.
He was also one card away from the win.
Yeah, one card away from the win. You were ahead when you got it in, when your opponent was short, and now all of a sudden you're on his tail.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Steven is still the favorite to win because stacks are basically even, but still it's
quite shallow now, though, so it's... And
you have to be mentally strong.
Sergey has... Yeah. Well, when we interviewed Stephen on the chip race, he talked a lot about mindset. He talked about how when he had the first big sort of significant downswing of his career, the thing he went away and worked on was mental game. Came back with a much stronger mindset, which has stood to him since. And Sergey picks up another hand, ace-queen suited on the button. This is a great time to be getting hands when the stacks are this shallow that it could end at any moment. So he could go a number of ways with this. He could raise this to call a shove. He could limp it.
Shout out as well to those two guys stood behind Sergey, been there all day since the final table started. The lady and gentleman, and when we see the back of Sergey after we see the flop, we don't need clubs, or Sergey does. It's a jack-eye flop, jack 3-9.
A good flop if you're going to play jack 2.
Yeah.
And Sergey will likely bet this out anyway because he was on the button.
Yeah, he has gone for this the continuation bet here, essentially.
Excuse me.
And now Stephen has to choose between check call and check raise.
Looks like just a call. Ooh, this may slow down the action. Not necessarily by Sergey, but if Steven was planning to check call the turn, check raise the turn, he wouldn't do so. Oh my!
Oh,
what a river!
Oh, this is a bad river for Stephen. He's playing this hand passively because he's out of position, and now
Absolutely.
Sergey should recognize he pretty much always has the best hand here. Therefore, he has to bet. Stephen did check call the flop, so Stephen must have something.
He could have like a 10-queen kind of hand. Which
He could have a queen 10, and then we have a better kicker.
Yes.
So, and he can obviously have the jack.
But if he has 10-8, you're in trouble, and that was another hand. But still, after it went check on the turn, check
Yeah,
on
there
the
are just
river,
too
you
many.
have to bet.
We're ahead of all the jack X. We're ahead of all the queen X apart from the ones that have boats. So many hands that can call us here. He elects to bet.
Yep. Is that a million?
Oh, and a
quick
snap call.
Yeah, it is a snap
10 mil.
call. I mean, there's no way we can fold second pair, which was top pair until the river.
No.
And Sergey has his biggest lead in the heads-up battle now.
That is exactly role reversal since we started, 81 mil, 36 mil. That's how they were when we started. Good question from Esco. What's a good way to get a mindset for long rolling tournaments? Any recommendations? That's a great question.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a really good book, The Mental Game of Poker,
Jared Tendler.
by Jared Tendler, and also co-written by Barry Carter, who also co-wrote my Satellite Strategy book with me. That was actually Barry's first book. That's actually one of the best-selling poker books of all time. It comes really highly recommended. A lot of professionals have read that book and got a lot out of it.
Now that's a stack in front of seat number 8, Sergei Lisi.
And I think he learned by stacking it in a pyramid type of way, maybe not bring you the best of luck. So he has his own new way of
He's going
doing
for the
it.
more traditional, yeah. Your mind can wander at the poker table, right, and you can find yourself thinking, maybe if I stack my chips differently, it'll change my luck. But you're better off not thinking about that stuff at all and just concentrating on the game.
Yeah.
That's actually a mindset thing as well. Trying to eradicate superstition.
So maybe the smaller rail by Sergei is in his benefit because Stephen may have more distractions on his rail.
That's a really good point. There are some players. There's one player I'm very close friends with. I'm not going to say who it is, but he doesn't actually like being railed. So if he makes a final table, he doesn't want any of us there because he just thinks it's a distraction.